Hey, what's going on, Inspirers? Another day of learning awakes us all. You are on Hurdlers of Adversity, Inspirers, and Maximizers of Pivotal Moments. My name is John Register, and I'm your host today and will be your guest today because I lost an individual that was going to be on, and he just had a commitment that couldn't get out of. So no problem. The show must go on. We're going to keep on rolling. This is the show where I get a chance to introduce you to amazing individuals who have overcome tremendous obstacles in their life. And oh my gosh, what guests we have had on this show. So if you recall somebody who was there on the show, I want you to put that in chat. I know we got one person on right now, but I'm going to be talking a little bit today, just a little bit different about how we, it's Amputee Coalition, it's Amputee Limb Loss Awareness Month. I'm going to talk a little bit about that from the standpoint of being an amputee and kind of this fear to freedom model. Hey, Lynn, how you doing? The best guest yet. It's only me. Oh yeah. So we're gonna have a good time today. Hopefully, you get some people that will just kind of call in, and we'll get that going too. I got a folks I've reached out to, so maybe they'll just jump on in. But I will be sharing a little bit of what I do as far as presentation styles to share with everybody. Kind of the life journey that I went over, some of the backstories that I generally don't share, just as what it was like to live life as an amputee when that day hit. But would love to know where. I know that Lynn's on, and so she's scoping in probably from North Carolina, someplace fantastical. So thank you for being on as always, and you're on LinkedIn today. That's cool. That's great. So spread the word that we are on and popping. Had a great one. We got another one on for. Looks like on Facebook as well. So if you can identify yourself, be great. This whole month has been like flying by. I can't believe we're coming up on the month of May already, and it was really interesting to me this entire month. Start off Limb Loss Awareness Month, and the book came out, Bespoke, and I'm not sure I have it around here, but Bespoke, yeah, it's right here. I think this book right here. Came out, and it was fascinating because it talks about these amazing bodies, our bespoke bodies, and from there, that was like how it just led off. And I forgot that I actually wrote the foreword for the book. So you ever done that? You're in the flow and you just write the whole foreword for something. I'm trying to find the actual page that it came in on. I'm not sure if I can actually find it or not. I'm trying to hold this microphone because then my microphone stand breaks. Just having a tough one of it. Yeah, here it goes. So wrote the foreword for the book. I don't know if you can see it because the green screen is on, and I had a lot of help doing that because I need help. We all need help. We all need a little help. So it's a great read, and it's very well done book. And last night I just ended with the American Association People with Disabilities annual gala, and I'm going to try to get that one out and see if I can get another link for it because oh my gosh, star-studded event. It was fantastic on virtual. Couldn't believe it. I mean, it just rolled so well. I mean, they got everybody on there. Taraji P. Henson. They had President Joe Biden. They had Valerie Jarrett, and then they gave it, because it's not a partisan organization. It's very much a bipartisan organization. So they had congressmen and congresswomen from both sides of the aisle that were talking about why disability is so important, and it was just a fantastic, well-run event. Jane Pauley, it was awesome, off the charts. So that was really cool. So thank you, Lynn, or whoever that is saying, Happy Limb Loss Awareness Month. Yes, it was great. So I'm going to get into today talking a little bit about this journey I've been on since having an amputated leg, and it's been interesting to see. And I'm looking around. I'm going to try to get some of these slides together here for you. A lot of times what happens when you get thrown into a new environment is you lose oxygen out of your environment. You start losing oxygen out of your environment. We see this play out when there is some type of dramatic change that happens in a person's life, particularly dealing with trauma, that they lose oxygen. So what do I mean? When astronauts are training for space, they train in a ginormous pool in NASA down in Houston. And underneath the water, right, they can't breathe underwater without a spacesuit or without a breathing apparatus. You see the frogmen in the water here too, but they can't breathe under the water. Neither can they breathe in space, right? They can't breathe in space because there's no oxygen there. And the last thing I recall, when you're underwater, when you're submerged underwater, the last thing you want to do before you try to get that last breath, if you're about to drown, you panic. You begin panicking, looking for anything you can to latch onto, to hold onto, to give you a sense of certainty, a sense of surety that this will help get me out of the water. And when I was going back away from the NASA on a day, I started thinking about that hard, that whether under the water or in space, astronauts were not able to breathe. And that reminded me of kind of my life when I was unable to breathe after I had lost my leg or had my leg amputated. Because when you're on the fast track and if you've done the work and you're about to make an Olympic team, you're going to officer candidate school, you have all these things that are set before you. What happens when it's all taken away? When it's all gone, when you make the decision to wipe it all away. So I have an accident. It's on May 17th, 1994. The anniversary comes up next month. And, here you have everything, the whole plate set before you, whole life is set before you, and everything goes away. I think that's when our oxygen leaves our environment. And we have to find some things to put that back in. For me, fortunately, it was my wife who says, you know what, John, we're going to get through this together. It's just our new normal. And so with that, she began to, help me embrace this new normal mindset, which I'll get into in a few minutes. But one of the things I was very grateful for when I was laying in the hospital was that the injury didn't happen in Germany, where I was stationed. So I'm geographically a bachelor in Germany because I can't get command sponsorship for my family to come over. So I'm over in Germany. My family's back in Arkansas. And I'm training for trying to make the Olympic trial still over there. And there was a new track that was built in Bitburg, Germany, where I was stationed. And what I would do at night after knockoff, and it gets really dark early in Germany because they don't do the daylight savings thing. So I would get over the track, throw my bag over the fence. I would climb the fence, get over, and I would set the hurdles up on this track that was brand new, that nobody's supposed to be running on in the first place. And when the cars would come around the corner, I would start my run up to the first hurdle. And I could see the hurdle coming to view because the cars would come around the corner and I could see the hurdle. And that's when I would run over the hurdle and I could see the next 3 hurdles in line as well. So that was kind of how I ran. So what if I was hurt over there? What if that happened over in Germany? I'm probably not doing this LinkedIn Live, that's for sure. So I just see my friend Carrie just got on, and I want to bring Carrie on the line. Because Carrie I'm going to let her kind of share her story. But as we're talking about this atmosphere and environment, I just want to explain to her and then have her share kind of what happened with her on her day as we're celebrating the tail end of Limb Loss Awareness Month. So Carrie, welcome. Thank you for being on.
Hello.
So Carrie, I'm talking a little bit, freestyle today because I had a guest that was supposed to be on it and then they had to back out because of an emergency commitment. So I'm talking about atmosphere and environment, right? So what I mean by that is when we go through a period of trauma, sometimes we lose our oxygen out of our environment and we can't breathe and we begin to panic. What's next? What's new? How do I manage this? So you were in the United States Army, sergeant, one each, and and you're serving your country. I think it was in Honduras, I want to say.
Bosnia.
Bosnia. Okay, Bosnia, Herzegovina. And you come back home on vacation or leave or something, and then something happens. Kind of pick up the story right there of what happened.
For me, what happened was actually we were back and I was celebrating because I was going to be picked to do officer candidate school. So me, I like to go big or go home, right? So I didn't want to be just Sergeant Miller. I wanted to end up being like Colonel or General Miller at some point. So I ended up getting chosen, and my packet went up for that. And so when we were home, I was celebrating, and it was around the holidays and all that great stuff. And so we ended up going to have we went to a club and we're having a good time. And then afterwards, I got a ride with some friends, and we were going, to IHOP, because that's what you do after the club, right? IHOP.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And we ended up getting into a car accident. My car got hit going 80 miles an hour from behind us. Yeah. And
They were going 80.
Mm-hmm.
And you were doing the speed limit.
Oh, I wasn't driving, but I think that
Oh.
I don't know how in the speed limit, our drivers were going, but we weren't going 80. The guy came up from behind and hit us, and we ended up spinning and hitting those big brown utility poles. So we ended up hitting one of those, and on my side, so I caught the pole. And from there, I lost both legs. Ended up being a double amputee, one above knee, one below knee. So I guess I couldn't decide which one I was going to do. So I tried them both out. It's been working out. It's been working out. But yeah, so that's how I got to where I am now so far.
Well, that's very similar, because I was on my way to officer candidate school as well when I had the injury, and just had been selected for it also. So we would have been we've been General Register, General Miller all together.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So when I met you, you were pretty upbeat at the VA hospital over at I think it was in Washington, D.C. I was getting my prosthetic care done there at the time. Walk us through your process of, okay, I'm waking up now. I have one above, one below leg. My dreams of going to officer candidate school, that's out of the question. What was that moment like for you? And how did you get through that mindset time?
For me, I think the priorities were different, because when I remember waking up, I had the tube down my throat and everything. And for some reason, like, I knew I didn't have legs, or, and I knew that my priorities were not on, I could care less about officer candidate school, army, military, anything else. What I cared mostly about is when I looked up and saw the fear in my mom's eyes, like the uncertainty in, am I going to be okay? And I knew that she was worried about, am I going to be okay? And I've never seen that fear in her, which made me afraid. Like, hey, wait a minute, I'm good. We're gonna be okay, And I think that was what my focus was on. Later on, only later on did it come to, okay, who am I going to be? Am I going to be that person sitting on the side of the road with a cup and begging for change? Because back then, we're talking about hundreds of years ago. No, back in 99, back in the day, I didn't see a lot of veterans that were just moving along, living life, or if they were amputees, it was more of a hidden thing, like they wear pants, you never see any of that stuff that's going on. And so I think that was more my fears, like, okay, who am I going to become? What can I do from here? And it was really cool when we were at the VA hospital. My mom was like, hey, because I was single at the time, right? She was like, hey, there's a handsome guy there. Yeah, look, he's an amputee like you. And I was like, Mom. And then you're like, hey, I'm John Register. Blah. I was like, he's with it, because I've been hanging around all these like older, veterans from like Vietnam and, whatever. And then to finally see someone, more my age range, moving and grooving and, wearing shorts and just being themselves. I mean, I think that was a great intro for me, because I was so early on,
Yeah, your mom said that day. I remember that.
It's like, he's cute.
Yeah, that was funny. Who was the prostitute, Mr. I can't
remember.
The gentleman.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
He was good. He was he was funny. I like that, because mom's just worried about, oh, she's still gonna get a date. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that from the lady standpoint, when I go to amputee conferences, that's one of the biggest questions of new women who become amputees. Can you speak to a little bit about
Mm.
body? I just was just sharing the body of the magazine Bespoke that just came out, and it's a fantastic book of a lot of just different folks inside of it. Um, but talk a little bit about from the lady standpoint of newly acquiring, and all of a sudden my body's changed now, and is that a real kind of factor of like, how am I going to be accepted by
Yeah,
others?
yeah, and I think the thing is that for a male amputee, for them to go through it, women are nurturers, right? So they'll flock to you know want to nurture that person back. But guys are more visual. Guys are more. It tends to be, not as accepted. On the female side. I think that's what you think in your head as a woman, going through, right? And
Hmm.
so you wonder, man, you have all these women, all these beautiful women with all their pieces, walking around
All
and
their pieces.
yeah, all their pieces. And they're walking around and how am I going to look in a swimsuit? I used to love being half naked. Now all I want to do is wear pants, because I was in my
Mm,
20s.
mm.
Um, so I think that was my issue is okay. One, how do I look in clothes? Right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I used to love shopping. That's what I do. I can't wear heels anymore the way I wanted to because I'm a double amp, and those super heels just won't work out. Then back in the day when they would make prosthetics, the feet were like all for men, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
then I have the added issue of being, an African American, a black woman, right? And the feet were either
White feet
these white feet, right?
or
I've had
total
so
black.
many white feet, or this greenish,
Yeah.
purplish, black color where I'd rather just go with the white feet, right? So it was
I always tell my foot in the door to say, "Hey, I got a leg up on you.
right, exactly.
I got a white foot.
I got white foot.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, accept
oh, you're
me.
not. Oh, I forgot. Oh, you're not. I, I, we thought you was.
Right,
Because you put
right,
your foot in the door.
right. So bad. Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
just that was one of my part of the transition process. And but I think that the more I came to be like, wait a minute, rather than hiding it, if you see me, I wear shorts. I don't get them covered, and I may have a pair just because of fancy time, but I'm proud of the fact that I made it through. Right?
yeah.
I'd rather them look at my limp and go, "Oh, that's cool," rather than, "Oh, is she hurt?" You know what I mean? And so it's it's it took some time to be able to accept it and not go through that hiding phase and not go through that embarrassment of me
Mhm.
being me. You
Right,
know?
right. So Lynn Keir, she's on. She's always on. She's one of my favorite people. And she says, "Love your story, love your energy and
Oh,
insights that you're sharing." Yeah.
thank you,
So
Lynn.
Lynn, guess what? Carrie has. She's incredible and remarkable in a lot of different ways. And since then, she's also made a Paralympic team, actually a few Paralympic teams, and was on Paralympic volleyball. So I want to kind of bring us up to how you got on the volleyball team, and then talk about being voted as best libero in the world. And
Yeah.
what's the sport of sit volleyball, right?
Okay. Yeah, so after the after the injury and then the trying to figure out who you are, I was introduced to wheelchair basketball, right? So wheelchair basketball is like the sport that I think everyone has to go through, at first before they can say, okay, let me test the waters here, right? So and I loved it. I played at the U of I, Fighting Illini. It was just a great time. And I learned a lot actually from that program and from like Coach Frogley as a person and teaching you how to one to train others, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also how to make sure you take care of your studies, and
Mm-hmm.
then the other part is to physically be disciplined and to attain higher goals for yourself. So it was just a great program to have anyone to go through. Right. So from there, I was asked to join to try out for the U.S. Paralympic team, where I was not chosen. But a great opportunity came from that, where one of my teammates said, "Hey, try sitting volleyball." Right. And I know, John, you've heard this 100 times. And my first thought is, I'm not wearing those booty shorts. Right. I'm Catholic. Right.
I'm Catholic.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
Catholic.
Catholic.
Right. It's not happening. But I ended up just going out there because they said, "Hey, it's a free trip to Atlanta," and I was like, "Okay, well, I'll go try this stupid thing out. I'm not wearing the shorts, but I'll do it." And but I ended up going and falling in love with the sport, and like I always say, any sport where you can hit somebody in the face with a ball and not get in trouble works for me, right? Although more times than not, I'm the one getting hit in the face, but it's okay. Um, we ended up, I ended up falling in love with the sport, and they were training for Athens at this time, right? And so all these people knew what they were doing. They were training for Athens, and I had never even played volleyball for real in real life, and I decided I'm going to try out for the team. I'm athletic. I could do anything, right? Because that's another thing that I think being in Illinois, and then my mom instilled in me, you could do anything, Okay, yeah, I could do anything, even if I don't know how. I don't know, but I ended up going out and trying out for the national team, and I was thoroughly shocked when they didn't choose me. I was like,
Mhm.
"What? They did me?" But well, first of all, I didn't know how to do anything in volleyball other than probably wear the shorts. But it was but he was like, "Hey, you are so athletic. Just come on and train and try it out." And, for a moment there, my big headedness, I thought, they don't want me. I'm going back to basketball. This is stupid. I could figure out maybe I'll play overseas or, something like that. And then my mom came in and she was like, "No, we're going to practice and you're going to get better and then you're going to make the team." And so it was so funny because my mom knew nothing about volleyball, but we would go to the gyms in DC and she would throw balls at me and we just kind of try to practice what we saw them doing. And it was cool. I went from not being chosen to being
Wow.
chosen, right, onto the
Right.
team, and then being made the best libero in the world for two
Wow.
different Paralympic games. So it was in a couple of other tournaments and stuff
I
like that.
mean,
So yeah.
that's really remarkable that you take this life and there's one path that you're on, going to
Mhm.
officer candidate school. You're just coming home from Bosnia. You've served your country, and all of a sudden you're hit by a drunk driver, right?
Yeah.
And it wrecks your entire pathway trajectory that you're supposed to be on.
Yeah.
And then we ask the question, but did it?
Mm.
Because you get on this other path, and now you are probably inspiring arguably more people than you would have done as General Miller,
Right.
right? Not that you wouldn't, but when you not and we're not going to talk about semantics of trying to what would life have been like,
Right.
but I see how you have impacted from the Paralympic side, from just helping other injured military veterans move through their challenges in life.
Right.
And I think that is more important because a lot of times when we go off to war, we don't think about the injuries and the people that survive and come back home from those conflicts, or just the 70% of individuals in the Army alone who are not injured in combat but have that lead the way in injuries. So service
Right.
members that are injured outside of theater that happen, and all of those that need the rehabilitation and the isolation that they can feel, because some of the programs, as you know, and you're building down there in San Antonio, Texas, all some of these organizations want to do is only serve the injured combat vet.
Right.
And so now it makes everybody else like, well, we're the 70% that weren't injured in combat, and you don't even, we're what are we, dish rags?
Right.
Right. And so that is it's a horrible kind of thing. I know that with funding and stuff that some organizations can't, and so they got to grow into it. But there's a whole group of individuals that have served, and every time there's a war, there's always going to be the next one. So
Yeah.
you got to stop. Oh, we got to stop this program and start with this group. So
Yeah.
it really
No.
does divide people up that have served and fought together. So I guess one of the things I was thinking about is I have this slide that's up right now. It's of Regis Woods, and
Reese.
I talk about this mindset when I'm talking about the presentation in my presentations, and that mindset really is the oxygen needed to survive in our environment. So we're talking, remember earlier, about the individuals of the uh, people that astronauts that are in the water when they're training for space, or when they're actually in space, they're operating in illegal environments. And when we lose our oxygen out of our environment, the last thing we do before we take our last breath is we panic.
Mm-hmm.
Where with that breath from, I'll hold on to anything. I'll find anything I can to try to get that last breath. And what we did around COVID, how we lost our oxygen out of our environment was we panicked. We did panic buying, right? We
Mm-hmm.
had to buy toilet paper. We had to buy paper towels. We had to buy hand sanitizers. All this stuff that we had to hoard. We got gallons and gallons in the garage probably right now because that we had to hoard. No one else gets it but me.
Yeah, right.
Then we panic. We're panicking when some people were panicking when the vaccine came out. Right? They're jumping states trying to get in line. Me first. Me first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
some people don't even want it. I don't. It's okay. It's all good. So it's kind of crass. But I was talking about herd immunity with somebody today. I said, "Oh, there's two ways to get to herd immunity. You need to take the vaccination and be cool, or not, and you will eliminate yourself."
Wow.
That's two ways to get to it. I was just joking, but that's it's a person's choice on whatever. But when you travel overseas, there are places that you will go, and this kind of gets to as we start talking about the games and the people that you may have heard of going to the Paralympic Games or Olympic Games. There are places that are going to require us now to have a vaccination, right? Just like when we visit Africa, we visit Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, you got to have a shot record when you get in there, before you need your immunization shots. So why do you think this is any different with the COVID vaccination from the United States going around to like other countries? I mean, it seems pretty simple to me, but I know our athletes have to think about this as they are going and about to compete over in Tokyo.
Yeah. And I think that other than the fact that it happened out of necessity or out of an emergency, and like the quick turnaround time of these vaccines, I don't see there is any difference. Mind you, that the other vaccines that we all automatically have, or most of us already have, you have people who don't take those anyway. So I don't really think that there's really that much. I feel like the same type of people who are going to have those objections are going to have the same objections for this COVID vaccine, and I think that, it's a matter of understanding for some people, especially like in the African American community. Like if you bring it back to the African American community, we've been guinea pigs. We've been, especially in the medical community, especially women. Oh my God, it's horrible. But when you think about that, then you see why people are reticent to jump in the line and get shots. Because I was sitting back like, oh man, I'm gonna go ahead and ride. I mean, everybody around me will get it. I'm gonna hang out with Becky and them until we see if everything's okay, right? But then you start seeing everybody's in line, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and let me idle up and get this shot, right? But I mean, and I can understand it. And then I was explaining to one of my friends, and she was like, it changes your DNA and all this other stuff about this vaccine. And what I wanted to explain to her is, I may have made the wrong decision in getting this vaccine. Something terrible may happen further down the line, but I know now that if I pass or something happens because of this, that it won't be this lonely death away from my family, suffering, where you have to take where you're looking at an iPad in order to get through it. And I know that I've done it in order to be with them, rather than me living in fear and not doing anything to try to protect myself in them.
So yes, I do. And I'm thinking about as and like celebrating Amputee Limb Loss Awareness Month. I said with COVID, everybody went through an amputation.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody went through one because just like what you said, there is this when we first become an amputee, there's this isolation moment.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh, no one understands this but me, and I got these phantom pains hitting me crazy, reminding me of something that's not there any longer. I can't get that back. All these remnants are coming up, and I have to fight through this time period because I believe, I hope, I have a vision that something will be better on the other side than it is right now. But I'm reluctant to go over there because I really want that thing back that's no longer there anymore. So I said everybody went through an amputation.
Yeah.
So would love to know, and I also think, the stigma that comes along with it, right? There's as we're talking about with women and being amputees, I think it's kind of getting more cool now, as we see more and more YouTube videos and things like that, and people riding bikes or jumping motorcycles and all this other stuff. So it's started to become a little more, but amputees are kind of leading the way in that, because it's the closest thing to quote unquote normalcy that we see. I think people that use wheelchairs, for example, are kind of maybe next in line. But we do see it's always amazing to me that the opposite of using a wheelchair for mobility to get around is walking onto legs.
Yeah.
And so we always see people trying to create technology to get people up and walking.
Yeah.
Exoskeleton suits and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. We got to have you walking and
standing up.
You got to stand up, right?
Mhm.
But I get around faster in my wheelchair.
Right. I know. This is true.
If I go to amusement park, I don't want to walk.
No.
I want to actually push my chair because it's faster. And I can bump in the back of the heels of people. So and make them disabled. So
come join my team.
Join the club. Here you go.
Take that.
We were in San Diego, I remember.
Yeah.
And we're sitting on the dock of the bay. So we're sitting on the dock, and this lady comes up. Remember this?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Remember comes up. She comes up to us, and she says, "Oh my gosh, you're so inspirational. I could never. I'm so glad I'm not you."
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right. How often do you hear comments like that? My life is so much better than your life. I'm so glad I'm not you, and have your sucky life.
Right. Basically, that's what they said. It's like, wow, that kind of hurt, but and I mean, I understand what they're saying, like, oh, I could never go through that, or oh man, when I think things are tough, then I could think of you. I'm like,
think of you.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not. I could get in line first. How about that?
I'm the best libero in the world.
Right. It's just, but and I think that sometimes people don't really think through exactly what they're saying, and the meaning in it isn't the way that I'm taking it, So but it's funny when they say that, because I'm thinking, man, I would not want your life. You seem kind of boring. Like, you sit there, you're like, what are you doing?
I was blown away, actually. I was like, wow. I mean, that was like in your face. I mean, I've heard it, but that was like in your face. It's like, yeah, Carrie, dang, your life must really suck, right?
Right.
And no, you just like this amazing woman who has just taken on, served the country, just has gotten injured, you got Mothers Against Drunk Driving, everybody against all these things. You're helping injured service members now. You are, on the Paralympic team. You're helping other athletes. I mean, what a phenomenal life that you're leaving. But she never wants to be like you, right?
Right. That's what I was saying. What are you doing that's so awesome, right? That's what I should have said. What are you doing that's so awesome, right?
Right. That's what I say, and that's why that's why I think the Limb Loss Month is really important to share and talk about, not only for amputees but others that might see this time of life for somebody, of what their life now can look like, that they've gotten away of all of the things that generally hold us back. These misconceptions, these stigmas of other individuals, these stigmas of ourselves against ourselves.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst. The ones of yourself. Like when I was saying nobody will want me, right? Like you're thinking, oh, who's going to want to date me? I look weird. My clothes don't match, or, all of that stuff, that goes through your head. I think you're the worst. Then that lady could come up and say whatever to me, because I know who I am, and what's going on in my life. But it's the stuff in your own head that's the stuff that gets you.
Yeah. So I look at this, I have this what I put up is this, we have this individual stigma. And I always say, will my wife still stay with me? But that really wasn't, Alice leaving was not my big stigma. What was my big stigma was, do I still belong?
Right.
Do I still have value and worth? And if I don't, what does that mean? Who am
Yeah.
I now?
Who am
And
I? Yeah.
who am
Who
I?
am I? Yep.
Right. Have I changed? Have I shifted? And why am I thinking that I've changed and shifted? All these things that are just coming in. And I think that's what happens in major change. That's why people are so afraid of it, of change, because they have to
Yeah.
reevaluate who they may think they are versus who they are showing up as versus who they think they are.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course other people believing for us what we can or cannot do, which is based on what they believe they could or could not do if they were in our situation.
Yep.
And then finally, the cultural stigma of what does society say? What does society dictate to us about ourselves or say about us that we believe? You know, Captain Hook's an amputee. He,
Right.
he got his arm bit off by TikTok the crocodile.
You know, but I'm looking at the other stigma, and
Yeah.
one of the worst stories that I had was when it sent my mom straight out, like she lost it. We went to Disney World, and we've been swimming all day, so now it's time to change. So I go into walk into the changing room. I change my clothes into dry clothes, and I walk out, and this man comes up and he says, "That was just amazing." So my mom goes, "That she changed her clothes?" Like, Carrie, great job. You changed your own clothes by yourself. Like, so it's like, so how low? Like, what do you think that that
The bar said hi.
my bar, man, my bar must be
Yeah.
very, very
Can you
low
can
in
you
your
just
eyes,
kind of skip over that? You know, that bar.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the one I think about all the time in the grocery store. Oh, I'm so glad to see you out here. Oh my gosh, you're so inspiring. And I say, yeah, I was hungry.
yeah, right. Thanks,
Alice told me to do the shopping today. You know,
right.
so,
Or they don't talk to you; they talk to whoever's with you. You're like, oh, isn't she just? She's right there, right,
right.
right there. Yeah.
That's what flipped. You know, because as Alice been a flight attendant, a lot of this flipped her on what her how she deals with people on the planes now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if she has a person that has a disability on the plane, she will talk to the person.
Yes.
And the person that's with them says, I am so glad that you
Mm-hmm.
talked to them, that you saw them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's so easy to just to talk to the other person, the other,
Yeah.
the one that's there, thinking that this person is incompetent and can't answer for themselves.
Right.
Yeah, uh,
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for last minute just jumping on with me and just helping me out for today. I really appreciate it. You're just dynamite. You're a rock star, and I really appreciate you. Blessings to you and Jay. You just you're my heart, and I can't wait to get down to San Antonio to come see you all again. Um,
Awesome.
hey, when is for those that may be watching later on? When isn't there like a military camp that's coming up down there? Is that happening?
Oh, the
Valor Games?
Warrior Games. I think it's the Warrior
War,
Games coming.
oh, the War Games coming too?
Yeah, I think the Warrior Games are coming. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when the next camp is going.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to find out because I'd like to spread the word to some of the veterans that might be in that population out there.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, thank you for being on. I really do appreciate it. Everybody give snaps to Carrie.
Thank
Hey,
you.
yeah, appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Bye bye.
All right, everybody. That's Carrie Miller. She's on our Paralympic team. Just phenomenal. And I'm so glad she came on for a few minutes today just to share with us kind of her thoughts around Amputee Limb Loss Awareness Month. So, as always, as we begin to wrap this show up, we have another exciting guest on. I think we have another guest on for next week on May, whatever the next week is. I don't even know anymore. But I really thank you for staying with us and watching these shows. We're chopping them up. I hope you've been seeing them in the segments on LinkedIn and on YouTube. We're putting them in both places. The team is absolutely incredible. We have had a lot of great public relations. Now we have a person on board who is just rocking it. And so I think we've been on 3 networks already, or coming up on 3, and then a lot of print media that's coming in, and a lot of stuff that's happening. So we're really excited about that going on, and some other major publications that are coming in. So with that, I say have a great afternoon, Continue to inspire your world. Remember that inspirations are the catalyst to motivation. Motivations in turn cause action. Actions lead us to transformational results, and these results, they re-inspire us or allow someone else that's watching the process to catch the vision. So that means we can go forth and inspire our world. Go is our command, forth is our direction, inspire is our vocation. Because it's your DNA, only you can do it, and world, because it's your sphere of influence. My name is John Register with Hurdlers of Adversity, conversations with inspirers and maximizers of pivotal moments. Bye for now. We'll see you next week. Talk to you soon.